USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
At Starbucks, we offer full and part-time baristas 100% upfront college tuition coverage, which means they can thrive at our company and in class. At Starbucks, benefits like college tuition coverage are just the start.
Now, experiencing a traumatic or a difficult birth can have lasting effects. This week, I'm joined by an incredible fellow double boy mum, Megan. Not only have I had the pleasure of navigating the 1 to 2 transition alongside Megan over the last year, but also supporting her in YPJ.
And I literally have almost no memory of the stages of that birth because I was just given drug after drug.
You've had a previous trauma and you're faced with that anxiety. That anxiety is a human instinct to protect you.
I would say don't let your past trauma and birth dictate how you experience the pregnancy.
How did you feel when you found out you were pregnant again after your first experience?
I'm always happy to tell this story, and even to my pregnant friends now, to tell them about how different it can be.
Hello, I'm Pip, and welcome to the Midwife Pip podcast, the home of expert information and real chats on all things pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Now, experiencing a traumatic or a difficult birth can have lasting effects, not only in the immediate postpartum period, but well into the future too. The thought of another pregnancy or birth can then bring up a whole new wave of emotions and reflections. This week, I'm joined by an incredible fellow double boy mum, Megan. Not only have I had the pleasure of navigating the 1 to 2 transition alongside Megan over the last year, but also supporting her in YPJ, your pregnancy and postnatal journey too. Megan's first birth was a traumatic experience, leaving her to feel like she had to make the decision to have a planned cesarean section with her second, except that deep down she didn't want to make a decision based on fear and chose empowerment instead. And that is where we came in. And Megan's strength and determination shone through. And today I have the privilege of talking to Megan as she shares her story to help others navigate this journey as well. Welcome, Megan, and thank you so much because you are a busy mum of 2 little boys in a heat wave.
Yeah, no, not a problem. I love sharing this story. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, and you should feel super proud of sharing this story. And I love hearing your story. To kind of start with, I suppose, Megan, and to set the scene, can you take us back a little bit to your first little boy's birth and kind of outline a bit what made it feel difficult or traumatic to you as an individual?
Yeah, sure. So I think I had my little boy in 2021, so that was just past the kind of main COVID period. Which meant, going into the hospital with your partner in the first instance was challenging. So you did a lot of stuff yourself, whether it was just appointments or scans, whatever it might have been. And we had no idea what it would be like when we actually had the baby in terms of the setup, what it would look like afterwards. Could he stay? Could he be in the room? We had no idea. So it was, we were really just going in quite blind. And I signed up to the classic NCT classes that most people do, firstly, so I could meet other people that were in a similar time frame, similar situation, and wanted to learn everything there was to learn about birth prep, right? Not only was it not in person because of COVID, so everything was virtual, but the classes themselves, other than the technical glitches that were happening, were very limited. I think we had about 5 or 6 classes, and they covered some basic things around breathing and I think breastfeeding and a little bit about the stages of birth. But when I was in that situation, I thought that's everything that you had to know. You do these 6 classes and you're ready to go. So when I actually was at the end of my pregnancy, which I actually had a few issues in that first pregnancy anyway with bleeding, and again, nobody in my classes covered anything like that. Nobody told you what was normal. You didn't have a bunch of pregnant people around you sharing information about what's normal, what's not normal. And so you're panicking. I was very anxious through that whole pregnancy anyway. And then got to the time around the birth, and I just went for a walk, and I went into extreme back pain. I had serious back pain. I had no idea what the back pain was. Everything I knew from my classes was that I was going to have these contractions that would happen in my tummy, and I would time them and I would go to the hospital. That's everything I knew. But I was just completely oblivious. I was in agony. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether I was in labor. You know, when I rushed off to the hospital, I ended up, my waters broke in the waiting room. So I was just panicked because I didn't know what this experience was. Again, was it normal? When I actually was taken into a room, no one explained to me what was happening. My waters had broken. They were trying to make me go home. They were trying to tell me that, you know, I wasn't ready yet, and then I would have to go home and come back again. I was in crippling pain. No one could tell me what would happen afterwards, what I could take, what I couldn't take. And I was in so much pain that I couldn't even think straight. So I wasn't making any decisions. I was completely unempowered. And luckily my husband Colin advocated in terms of making sure I stayed there. But everything after then is a blur. And I literally have almost no memory of the stages of that birth, because I was just given drug after drug. You know, I was woozy. I was taken from that room I was in, put into a delivery room. So didn't have any of that nice stuff around me that I expected to have. No wonderful birthing pool, no lighting, you know, none of those things that you think this is what it should look like.
Yeah.
And I was put on monitoring, and there was just a million people in the room all the time, just talking about the baby's heart rate dropping. And I was in agony. And then eventually I got the epidural, but I couldn't lie on my back. I had to lie on my side. So it only worked on one side. I was only numb on one side. So the pain just continued throughout, and I was just in a complete haze. They mentioned the potential of having a C-section at one point, but everyone told me there's no medical reason to do it, so don't do it. And I just didn't know, you know, should I do it? Should I not do it? What? I didn't even know how to make that decision. So I just let everything happen. And luckily, you know, Logan was born 18 hours later. It was a long, painful labor. And he was born via Von-Twos and an episiotomy, which I knew nothing about. I didn't know that was something that happened. I didn't know whether it was normal. I didn't know what kind of damage it had done to me and him. Lost a lot of blood. Yeah, the whole thing just felt traumatic. And I just said, never again. Never. I'm glad I've got a baby and he's beautiful, but never again.
Yeah. And I remember having that conversation with you, and you were like, well, that can't happen. So what else do I do? Right. And that's where, when we first met, a planned cesarean seemed for you like the only way forward, right? That was all you could imagine being okay with. If I can just go back, Megan, to when it sounds like, mate, I don't want to answer it for you, but that the moment that labour started was very different to what you were anticipating or you were told would happen for you. At what point did you realise, because you said you went into your first labour thinking you were well prepared. At what point did you realise that actually you weren't all that well prepared for the reality of your journey?
I think as soon as that pain hit, because I didn't know what the next thing to do would be. I didn't understand what I should be doing, whether I was in labour, whether I wasn't, you know, even when should I phone the hospital, all of that. So I felt completely unprepared, and I think that's why my anxiety was through the roof, my stress was through the roof. And I was just making all sorts of assumptions on what was happening. And I think I knew pretty much instantly that I didn't know enough, but I didn't consider sort of much later, once I'd had time to reflect, you know, that there was probably more I needed to learn about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it makes total sense. And then after you had your first beautiful boy, I love seeing pictures of Megan with her boys. They're just beautiful family. But after you'd had him, what impact did that experience have on you in that postnatal period? Because my goodness, the fourth trimester is tough as it is, isn't it? But when you go into that with a difficult birth prior, how was that for you and your family, Megan, that adjustment?
I think, again, we had no idea, and this is normal for all new parents, is you just don't know how your life is going to change, because you don't know what babies are like. You don't know how they sleep. You don't know what they need when they need it. So I remember bringing him home, and it was like 11 o'clock at night. It had been snowing. It was freezing cold, and I just put him on the floor in the lounge, and I was like, now what? And well, what do I do? And
there's the manual for this thing then.
yes, exactly. And I was like, this is wild. And I was obviously in a lot of pain because I'd had the episiotomy. And oh yeah, we had no idea how to navigate the next few weeks, in terms of looking after the baby, but also looking after myself. So I actually ended up having an infection after birth. And my husband, with his stress, ended up having like a stomach ulcer. So we both ended up in A&E in the first week or two. And again, I ended up on antibiotics, and I wasn't sure if that was whether I should be breastfeeding, with my baby on antibiotics. And the breastfeeding journey was really hard. And I had a reflux baby. So I had so much going on in that period, and no one around me who actually understood. So I think I took a big hit on my mental health, and it was really, I think, really challenging. Also having all those issues post birth and still trying to process what had happened. It was really, I think we were kind of robbed of the first 3 months of that newborn bubble. Everyone talks about that lovely newborn bubble, and you're just like, that, I don't want that again. That was just not fun. I don't know why anyone enjoys having a baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because you were dealing with so much, with such a lack of a system around you, really. You were kind of just floundering, right? From problem to problem almost in that time.
Yeah, exactly. And luckily I did have, my family around me, and they were just wonderful, but no one at a similar stage, with young children or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Sometimes hearing someone else go, me too, who just like lessens the difficulty 50%, doesn't it? Just knowing that you're not on your own in that moment with that problem is so powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
So fast forward to Megan pregnant with her second boy. We said we are fellow double boy mums, and we absolutely are. But how did you feel when you found out you were pregnant again after your first experience?
I think it was mixed emotions, because I knew that it would be nice to have a sibling for my first, and I knew that the kind of having the baby was long term going to be a nice thing. But the whole idea of being pregnant again, and having to go through birth, was horrific. And I don't know. I in my mind, obviously, I had said I'm never going to do I'm not going to do what I did last time. And as you said, the only thing that I wanted to do at that point was, right, I'm going to get through this pregnancy, and at the end, I'm going to have a C-section. They're going to pop the baby out the sunroof, and I'm not going to have any of the same experience because I can't. So that's going to be wonderful, and then I'm going to have a sibling for the baby, and it's all good. So in my mind, I was on a different planet, really. I was very, very scared. I didn't quite know how to navigate it to actually better prepare myself. So I felt like I was kind of in the same boat, but if I went down the planned C-section route, like it couldn't be the same. And I was like, I'm not gonna go and pay for more NCT classes because I'm not going to learn anything new. So how am I going to be better prepared? And I can sit there Googling, but what do I Google?
You don't know what you don't know. That's
exactly.
the difficult thing, isn't it? Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you didn't have a C-section.
No. No,
How
far from it.
But like the polar opposite. How was your second birth, Megan?
I loved it. It was very, very different. It was very, very fast. But everything about it was so positive. I think I got to literally term, and the actual birth, I think from the point of realizing I was in labor and having the baby was probably about 4 hours. And there was a build up to it, obviously. And in the morning, I went into the hospital for reduced movements. But I knew what to do. If there's anything reduced movements, make sure you call the hospital first thing. I was meant to go for a growth scan, but that kind of wasn't scary anyway. And the doctors actually said to me, because you've come in for reduced movements and you're at term, we do recommend an induction of labour. And I remember talking that through with you, with my mum, with a few other people from the community. And I made the decision that I was going to let my body do what it's going to do. And I had faith that it was. And that was about 1:00 in the afternoon. And Brody was born at, was it 5 p.m? No, it was 5, about, so I should know this, about 7 p.m. that night. So I think
the second child.
Yeah, exactly. Those details are
You were
gone.
born at another time.
That day, a few hours later. So I think I went home and labour progressed. I had contractions starting around 2 p.m, picked up my firstborn from nursery, had a little play date with his friend.
Love it.
His little friend's mother was like, "Are you okay? You look like you might be in a bit of pain." I was like, "It's fine.
Wow.
Like, every 30 minutes having a little bit of pain, it's okay." Now they left at 4 p.m, went to the hospital about 5 p.m, and 2 hours later I had a baby boy.
Oh my goodness, Megan, it gives me goosebumps because I so vividly remember that first conversation when you were like, well, Pip, like, don't be ridiculous. I can't get my head around the idea of even considering labour. Why did you decide that actually you were going to change your mind on the cesarean section front, Megan? Because powerful shift. You went from planned cesarean section, no thank you, to any aspect of labour, to a completely physiological birth experience. Where did that shift happen? What changed?
My brand new book, Midwife Pip's Guide to a Positive Birth, is now available. So much more than a book, this is a guide that allows me to hold your hand through your birth preparation journey. With over a decade of experience and knowledge packed in to ensure you really are empowered in the way you deserve to achieve a positive birth, regardless of the twists and turns that crop up. Make sure that you get your hands on Midwife Pip's Guide to a Positive Birth book now and are empowered to have the birth experience that you deserve.
I joined YPJ, I think when I was about 3 or 4 months pregnant. And the main reason for that was obviously because I had all this anxiety and I needed some way to kind of prepare for birth better. Even if it was going to be a planned C-section, it was important for me to understand everything that was going to happen with that, how I could make that sort of a positive experience. And actually all the things I was learning from both sides, from a physiological birth to the kind of planned C-section side, there was so much information about both and how both could be positive, how both had, certain considerations that you had to make. And I think just being able to actually understand and hear experiences from others and understand how both could be positive, first of all, I kind of went neutral and I said, okay, if it's not going to be a planned C-section, I can cope with it not being a C-section. So I was that kind of a level playing field and didn't swing either way. And then I think speaking to the consultant and I guess just processing in my head what it would look like after in the postnatal period, having a toddler myself and what that recovery might look like, and all those things considered, I think I wasn't scared of the physiological anymore. And I thought that's actually probably, if I can do that, the better option for me and my family, not just me. And I think selfishly, I was only considering myself initially because I was so scared. And I thought, no, I'm only going to, I don't want to have any of those experiences again. So I think just processing all the information, thinking when I had more headspace to actually think broader and say, well, this is what it would look like in both scenarios and what might be better for me and my family. And so then flipped completely and said, it was almost up to the last minute though. The consultant was saying, if you want to do it, we can still do it. We can still plan it in for this date after after you're at term. So it was, the option was always on the table to kind of give me that comfort. But yeah, it was a second option rather than the first in the end.
Oh, Megan, honestly, it's so brave, and I think it's underestimated. When you've had a previous trauma and you're faced with that anxiety is a human instinct to protect you. It's literally your every ounce of your being saying, like, stop, we can't do that again. We have to do the polar opposite, because that is terrifying, that's dangerous. Like, it's that whole innate instinct. And actually, you had that power to be like, right, let's pause. Let's actually explore other avenues. There's not just one way of doing this. Things, and that leap of faith in yourself as a woman, like, you made that decision, Megan. Your birth this time wasn't just a happy accident. It wasn't just beautiful coincidence. It's because you made a decision to actually take the reins, to do preparation in a really different way, to actually really lean into this journey and take stock and achieve that outcome that you wanted, like you say, not just for you but for your whole family. And I feel like the empowerment that a birth can give you can stay with you forever. Like, it's so much more than just one day, and I'm beyond delighted that you've had that and you're experiencing that.
It's been so good, and that's why I said, I'm always happy to tell this story, and even to my pregnant friends now, and just to tell them about how different it can be. And even if your birth doesn't go the way that you want it to, like, even with mine, there were painful moments. It was all a bit of a rush at the end, and I'd like it to have maybe slowed down slightly, but it was perfect. It happened the way it was meant to happen. I was prepared for all the questions I got along the way. I knew the best positions to be in for that. And then, postpartum, I came into it a lot happier. I didn't have that kind of lingering, horrific feeling that I was just so overwhelmed, because I wasn't. I came out, and I remember having tea and toast, which I didn't last time. I don't even remember if I had it. Tea and toast after the birth, and we were just laughing and talking about how different it was. I even let a student midwife cut the cord. It's just very different.
Oh, it's so brilliant. It's so brilliant to hear. And I know, your like postnatal journey hasn't necessarily been completely smooth. You've had reflux issues and allergy issues and all sorts going on, but actually you've now had the strength to navigate that in such a different place to how it was the first time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Postnatal's been a dream, really. I mean, as you said, even though it's had its challenges, it's just having the support around me, having all the right people to lean on all the time, navigating each of those challenges as they came up with, shared experience. As you said, even we went through a lot of it at the same time, and just to have that kind of support around you with people saying, I've been there, you will get through it. It does get easier. It makes a huge difference to your journey. So I think the difference in my mental well-being and everything has just been absolutely massive, and I think it has an impact then on the rest of the family as well, and my firstborn. And if I'd been in that same position of stress that I was the first time round, I don't know how we would have got through that kind of fourth trimester. But it's been lovely.
Oh, it makes me so happy. What would you say to first time mum Megan, if you could speak to yourself now in your first pregnancy, having done your basic 6 classes, antenatal classes, and feeling prepared, you thought you had everything under your belt, what would you say to that Megan now? What do you wish you could have told her?
I wish I could have told her that there's so much more to learn, so much more to learn about yourself, about your body, about the birth process, about postnatal, about fitness and nutrition and well-being. And there's just, there's so many things that you can empower yourself with to then have a more positive experience. And I think it's not just assuming that you'll have this perfect birth and that, you know, whatever you put down on paper as this is the plan, that might not happen. And actually, if you can prepare for every eventuality, you will come out of it a lot more positive and a lot happier. And actually, you can make a lot more decisions for yourself, which I feel like I didn't have that. That was taken away from me the first time round. But if you can join something like YPJ, no advert. It's
I haven't asked Megan to say that, I promise.
Honestly, you didn't. But it's one of those things that I think I followed your content initially on Instagram, so I knew that there was a lot of stuff I didn't know, even from that, just about preparing for birth and preparing your body and positioning and stuff. And I think if you had access to all that information in a structured way that was given to you to kind of learn in your own time and then apply and get feedback on, I think that's so important. And I think if anyone even, you know, if they don't have access to YPJ, just to do a little bit more research and preparation, then you'll find yourself in a better position.
I loved what you said there, not only about YPJ obviously, but about apply. Because I think so often, like, there is so much information out there. No one is going to be starved of information if they want to find it, because you just hit Google and, you know, you will find a theory now to prove anything. I'm sure there is some small study on absolutely everything nowadays if you search hard enough. There's so much information that often women can spend hours and hours researching and looking stuff up online, but not doing the key thing that you just said, applying it. So if you're spending hours researching, but then not actually actioning anything or doing anything, we haven't really achieved anything. So I love that you were like, actually, yes, we need all this information, we need all this knowledge, but we also need to be able to apply this stuff to actually make a difference. And I think often that is a really key thing that's missing in the whole kind of pregnancy and birth prep scenario
100%.
that women find themselves in.
But it's like, you know, when you go to, even when you're younger and you're at school and you do exams, as you get more into a particular subject, as you get older and you do kind of your A levels or your vocational stuff that you do at that level, it's not just being able to recite information. You have to be able to put it into context. And I think that's what matters is, you know your body, you know kind of your strengths. You have to be able to say, what are you comfortable with, what are you not comfortable with? Do you need your partner to speak up for you in certain moments? You know, what does your plan potentially look like? And if it doesn't go that way, what else could happen? And I think that application is what makes a huge difference on the day.
And what I loved with your story as well, Megan, is that often we try and fit women into boxes with their kind of birth plan or their pregnancy care. And we aren't squares. We're not meant to fit into boxes. We shouldn't be fitted into boxes just at the convenience of other people. Actually, it's really important that our choices, our pathways, our care, our preparation is for us as individuals. We've all got such different lived experiences that actually we shouldn't try and squeeze us into a box just for the sake of ticking it. And I love that actually you had conversations, you navigated your pathway in a way that felt right for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, there was the discussion around induction, there was discussion around sweeps. I think even when I was in the pushing stage, at one point, it was the position I was in, I was being told, we're trying to monitor the baby, maybe you can move into a different position. And I was like, no, that's triggering for me from my last one. I'm not doing that. And I worked with them to figure out another way that we could do it. But I would never have done that had I kind of not felt empowered to do that.
Oh, that is so powerful, Megan. I love that sense of empowerment in this birth compared to that first time where you said stuff was just happening and your trauma mind has just blocked that all out as a big blur of don't recap, that's harmful. Actually this time you were like, I get where you're coming from, I understand that, but it's not for me right now. Instead, let's do this. Like that is you like taking control of your birth and understanding your body and your mind. Like that's exactly how it should be, right? How did that feel in that moment to have that awareness and control?
It was good. I think you just feel like it's you making the decision. You're in the driving seat. You know exactly what's happening. And for me, I even felt the birthing of the baby, which I didn't last time, obviously, because I was half numb.
Yeah, literally
But I
one
think
side.
you just get such a buzz, I think, from knowing you did it, you
Mm,
birthed it, you made those decisions, you made those calls. And even when I was told certain things I had to do, I knew why.
yeah.
So yeah, you just get such an electric buzz, I think, afterwards. You can't really describe the feeling. Other people will know what that feels like, I'm sure.
Oh, it's so, yeah, it's exactly. I just that feeling, and I know I often say to you guys in YPJ, like, write that feeling down, capture it, because life's going to throw us so many trials and tribulations and hurdles. And actually, if we can reflect back on that and remind ourselves how capable we are in those stressful moments, like, we can carry that feeling with us through all of womanhood, you know, through all of motherhood, through the rest of our lives. It's such a powerful thing to hold on to, and to almost, you know, prove to yourself that you are more capable than you
Yeah,
realize, perhaps.
yeah, exactly. And you do get so many curveballs in life. So I think knowing that you can do it, yeah, helps you get through those things. It's not easy being a mummy for like ever.
No, no, we were just talking about nice family beach days that are not before we hit record, and
Yeah.
hand in teeth and meltdowns over packing the
Oh,
right sandwich, and yeah,
30
yeah, it's a
30-degree
beautiful
weather
wild
and
ride.
sand in the pants and everything. Just not good. Not good.
Sun cream that's sticking to everything.
Oh,
Oh, the joys, Megan, the joys. But we love them, don't we? We love them
yes, yes.
despite it all. Despite it all. If you, Megan, were speaking to someone listening who has had a previous traumatic birth experience, is pregnant again, is in the shoes that you were in when you were pregnant with Brody, what would you want to say to them?
I would say don't let your past trauma and birth dictate how you experience the pregnancy and your follow-up birth. So it's almost try and process what happened, but don't assume that that is going to happen again. And, you know, do what you can to, you know, empower yourself, understand how things can be different, understand what happened last time and what you don't want to happen again, and you know why it was triggering for you, why it was traumatic. I think that's important to actually process yourself, and to kind of understand why you know didn't have a great birth, but don't let it dictate how you feel. You know, you still want to have a positive pregnancy, you still want to go into your next birth excited, and you want to feel like you can do it. So I would say just don't let that guide your feelings, and just try and move forward and treat it like a brand new experience, but at least prepare yourself better this time. um, and have a community around you, talk about it, you know, don't bottle it in. I think the problem for me is I just had closed my mind. I said, this is what I'm doing. And I didn't even have a discussion with anyone around me about potentially not doing that. I was tunnel visioned. So,
Mm.
yeah, I think talk to people, share experiences. Yeah.
Oh, Megan, thank you. Such beautiful words of wisdom, and hopefully a massive reassurance to anyone who is on the path that Megan has very recently trod. That actually you can have that experience that not only you want to have, but actually you deserve to have as a woman as well. It's so important. Megan, I've absolutely adored supporting you through pregnancy and birth, but also just through the wild ride that is motherhood.
Yeah, it's been
It's
fun.
been wonderful having you in my pocket to share and rant and be tired with.
I've loved it. I've loved it. I'm so pleased I was part of YPJ in the community, and still part of it today. It's just, it makes such a difference. It's a village, a virtual village that you couldn't get anywhere else. It's lots of people in the same space, lots of people experiencing the same thing as you, and just a wealth of knowledge and experts that you can call upon all the time. And I just loved it. I would shout it from the rooftops, not an ad. I just loved being part of YPJ.
Oh, Megan, we love you. And I think one of the things that we're really proud of, and that you've absolutely, I think, felt, is that we do want to feel like a family. Oh no, honestly, Megan, yeah, we've absolutely, yeah, adored having you in the YPJ family. And I'm so happy that you've had that birth experience that you deserve and that your whole family are still benefiting from. You are incredible. So please continue to be immensely proud of your journey, because you really should be.
I really am. It's just, it was special, and it sits with me forever. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks.
If you have listened to this birth story, enjoyed it, and feel that you are ready to really embrace and dedicate yourself to having the most informed, supported, and empowered journey, and want to see if we may be able to support you in YPJ, your pregnancy and postnatal journey, please drop me a Instagram DM at midwife_pip, or get in touch on my email, pip@midwifepip.com, and let's chat through things and see if we might be a good match for each other. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and wishing you all the best on your journey through pregnancy, birth, and beyond.